change the world, maybe they'll notice me. And until then, I'll just be lonely. Yeah, riddle lonely. Poor riddle me.
George Clooney speaks. The Colbert Report fades into history. And another lesson on how to ensure you'll have a fat cat government job waiting at the end of your media career. This and more as we welcome back to MidPoint the pop culture and media maven from Mediaite, who would laugh in the face of cyber hacking danger from North Korea. Joe Concha joins us. You haven't been hacked yet, have you, Joe?
A couple of times from some spam emails I was stupid enough to open up, but besides that, no, not to the extent that we're seeing with the brave people over at Sony.
So where do we go with this then? Because obviously Sony's saying we need to protect ourselves. They're protecting their bottom dollar and their investors, of course. There's lawyers saying that you could be sued if somebody does something in a theater, though. And others, like myself, are saying, come on, grow a spine, will you? Basically, we have just been told by a foreign government what we can show to our people in a free society. I don't know why, but that just strikes me as something kind of over the edge here, Joe.
Yeah, and I go with grow a pair. Here's the bottom line about North Korea. They act like they're on an NBA 24-second clock in terms of the number of times they threaten the United States on a daily basis. All right, it's all the time. They have promised to nuke Washington more times than I can count, yet whenever they launch a missile or test one, it barely clears the launching pad before it harmlessly falls into the ocean. So they're all about rhetoric. I'm not saying that they aren't capable if they really, really put their mind to it, but remember, this is the North Korea geek squad that is doing the hacking. So what are they going to do? Use rocket-propelled Samsungs and launch them at theaters? I mean, to back down in the face of that sets a horrible precedent moving forward that whenever they disagree with any content that they may deem as offensive, they can very easily just hack whatever studio or television network that's running it and then hold the executives hostage like we're seeing right now. It really is a dark, sad time for Sony and for the United States in general in terms of free speech.
Well, it's a dark time, too, when you think about entertainment as well, because not only does Sony say you can't show the interview, but there was a theater in Texas that said, all right, if you don't let us show that, we're going to show Team America World Police, which also made fun of Kim Jong-il, as a matter of fact, the father. And then Paramount pulls out and says, no, we won't let you show that either. Joe, seriously, you want to grab the flag and leave the country now? I mean, what's happening here?
Good thing Paramount isn't at the 38th parallel, Ed, because there would be no South Korea. They would throw their hands up before the first shot is fired. I mean, to think that, well, if we show something that even offends Kim Jong-un's dad, they're going to hack our system. Get a good server, by the way. That might be a good start in a firewall. And God knows what our executives have been saying. So, yeah, Hollywood always been accused of being liberal, being weak. And George Clooney, quite frankly, of all people, is the only one that stepped up and is trying to organize something in terms of fighting back. And no one is signing a petition that he's trying to put together to fight back and actually stand up. So it's, again, I'm just appalled by what I'm seeing out of Hollywood and Tinseltown this week.
Is maybe the funniest thing in all this is that apparently, according to a column that you wrote, that thanks to Rotten Tomatoes, we learned that maybe the interview wasn't that funny?
Oh, my goodness. I mean, Seth Rogen movies generally rate very well. So I'll put it in the form of if you're taking a test in high school or college. His grades, so to speak, if you put together all the reviews out there, are usually an 83 or above. Some even go into the 90s. So you get a test back and say, hey, I got a 93. Isn't that great? Those are Seth Rogen movies for the most part. This one got a 53. Imagine getting that on a test, a 53 when they put together the 15 critics that reviewed it with some pretty scathing reviews. So it's a lot easier for Sony to pull a movie that was going to bomb anyway, at least critically, and then once word of mouth got out, it probably wouldn't have made its money back, than if they thought they had the next Ghostbusters on their hands, Ed.
All right, so as far as things in the media that are disappearing, the Colbert Report, its final show was held last night. How do we then look back very quickly and say what impact that Stephen Colbert had in basically playing a faux Republican?
Well, as a character, Stephen Colbert did very well. His show rated great, particularly among young audiences. Here's the problem now for CBS, and that's where he's going in about 9 months. They don't know what they're buying here because the character is being retired. They get Stephen Colbert, the person, out of character. And I would say he's kind of like Henry Winkler post-Happy Days. You lose the leather jacket, you lose Correctamundo, and suddenly there's no cachet. Stephen Colbert, same thing. He's never hosted a show as himself before, and I think that's going to be a real struggle when he's doing on-the-job training against the likes of Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon, who've been doing this for a long time, and they're very good at what they're at, what they do. I say Stephen Colbert, just like David Letterman, once the curiosity and hype wears off, he'll be right back there in the bronze medal stand right there in third place when he goes up against those two, because I don't know what he brings to the table if that character no longer exists.
45 seconds, Joe. The president has nominated Matthew Butler, the former CEO and president of the George Soros-funded left-wing advocacy group Media Matters, for an administration post. All you have to do is basically be the lapdog for the president for a few years, and you get yourself a cushy post in the administration, right?
It's remarkable. Look at Al Sharpton. He has the president.
No, please, let's not look at Al Sharpton. Let's stop there.
I give Al Sharpton, Ed, and I know we're almost out of time, the quote of the week when he was talking about Sony. He said, Hollywood is like the Rocky Mountains. The higher you go, the whiter it gets. Now, I think Sharpton's a clown, but that, I have to admit, was a pretty good line. But that being said, it doesn't take much to get the attention of the president, and he will reward you if you send out the right message, and Media Matters does that every day for this administration, Ed.
Be careful now, because CBS may then go after Al Sharpton to host the show if and when Stephen Colbert has a bad night. You better be very careful. If that happens, it's your fault, Joe. We're all going to blame you from here on out. Joe, always a pleasure, my friend. Keep writing well on Mediaite. We don't talk. Merry Christmas, my friend.
Merry Christmas to you, too, Ed. Take care.
All right, take care. After the break, on the ground in Russia, getting a sense of how the government there is blaming America.